guys are like me up until about a year ago, you probably don't know a whole lot about motorsports other than NASCAR, because NASCAR is probably the only popular motorsport in America. But I'm here to tell you guys that there are many other popular motorsports in the world that are arguably more exciting. They can take place from urban city tracks all the way to the mountains of Europe. And the first one I'm going to be talking about is Formula One. Formula One, or F1, is probably the most popular form of racing in the world, but it's really not super popular in America. They use open wheel cars like those, so it means the wheels are exposed from the car itself. That makes it for a lighter car and a better handling car. And put that with very expensive racing wheels and very powerful engines, you get some pretty fast cars. These cars go 0 to 60 in 2.5 seconds, and they can reach top speeds of over 200 miles per hour, which is just insane. And the tracks, like this one in Monte Carlo, also are very tight and have many corners. And then if you put 20 other cars around you, it makes for some high adrenaline, high intensity racing, which in my opinion is much more exciting than NASCAR. I got all this from autosport.com. The next form of racing I'll be talking about is vastly different from Formula One. It's called rally racing. Rally racing takes place on a closed course on multiple different surfaces. They can take place on tarmac, dirt, mud, sand, gravel, basically anything you can think of. These cars are specially built to handle the changes in surfaces because they have four-wheel drive systems for better grip, and they have suspension in case cars get air like that. These cars are also very light and very powerful. And believe it or not, these cars go 0 to 60 faster than the F1 cars. They go 0 to 60 in 1.9 seconds. And they can also reach speeds of 120 miles per hour on these courses. Now, that doesn't sound like super fast. I mean, it sounds pretty fast, but these courses are super narrow and they have a lot of turns. So for these drivers to be reaching that high of speed, it's absolutely insane. The drivers are on a point-to-point race, so it's not like a lap race like in Formula One or NASCAR. They just have to go from point A to point B. There's only one car going at a time, because if there's two cars or more than that going on a tight road like that, it would cause some crashes. And even if there's only one car, it's still very dangerous. As you can see, cars will crash. Drivers also have co-drivers to tell them what is coming up next. For example, co-driver could say there's a jump coming up in 100 meters, or there's a left turn coming up in 30 meters. They have to stay focused the entire time, just like the normal driver. I got this from rallyaction.com. The next form of racing I'll be talking about is endurance racing. Endurance races are a race against the clock. And it's not like a normal NASCAR race or an F1 race where you finish it, or the person that wins is the person that finishes the laps in the quickest time. This form of racing, the person that finishes the most laps in the 24 hours gets the win. There's teams of 2 drivers because you really can't have someone driving for 24 hours straight. That would just be very dangerous. These drivers have to keep in mind the deterioration of the car, the tires, and the use of fuel. So it takes some strategy as well. The producers also have to make reliable vehicles that can be pushed for 24 hours straight. Some of the most popular races are the Nürburgring in Germany, the 24 Hours of Daytona in Florida, and the 24 Hours of Le Mans in France. And the 24 Hours of Le Mans in France was depicted in the fairly new movie Ford versus Ferrari. I'd recommend checking that one out. It's pretty good. And I got that from motorauthority.com. The last form of racing I'll be talking about is hill climb. Like rally, it is a point-to-point race, and you're racing against the clock. But it only takes place on mountains and on tarmac. The most famous hill climb in the world takes place in Pikes Peak, Colorado, which is in the Rocky Mountains. That hill climb is 12.4 miles long, and it climbs 4,720 feet. and it has 150 turns along the way, and also some breathtaking views, as you can see right there. The thing about hill climbs is cars lose power as they gain elevation because there's lower air density the higher you go. So a car will lose 3% power every 1,000 feet it climbs. So that means in Pikes Peak, for example, it starts out at 9,000 feet. So regular gas engine cars are already down 27% power. And once it reaches the end at 14,000 feet, they'll be down 42% power. To combat this, drivers will use electric vehicles like the one right there. That is the Volkswagen IDR. It holds the Pikes Peak hill climb record at 7 minutes and 57 seconds. That's an average of 98 miles per hour going uphill and also taking 150 turns along the way, which is just insane. This is also very dangerous, just like rally. As you can see, that is Jeremy Foley's Lancer Evolution. He rolled off of a cliff and he landed right there. The only thing that kept him alive was his roll cage and his seat. And before all this safety equipment has been getting really good, it was still super dangerous, like in the 60s and 70s. If you roll off that cliff, you probably weren't going to make it. Okay. There are many other types of racing, not just NASCAR, and not just the ones that I talked about today. But if you like close, tight racing, you can watch F1. If you like off-roading and jumps, you can watch rally. If you like strategic drawn-out races, you can watch endurance racing. And if you like fearless drivers and breathtaking views, you can watch hill climb. If you like roaring engines and speeds of almost 200 miles per hour the entire time, there's always NASCAR for you. When it comes down to it, no form of racing is any better than the other one. It just comes down to your personal opinion. But I definitely recommend some of you guys check these out.